Hello Mallards, it is still Friday right now, but by the time you see this video, it will be Saturday. I'm going to 2 shows at the Orlando Shakes, one tonight and one on Saturday night, that are part of the new PlayFest that they have this weekend and next weekend. I'm pretty excited about it. I love seeing new shows. I think it's gonna be a great time. And so I will talk about each of them and I'll post the video when I'm done with the shows tomorrow. The show is over. It was really cool, actually. So I knew that they were going to be sort of staged readings because like part of the point of this is its development. And so they spend, I think they said 16 hours doing like table work, and then they do a staged reading of the show. We get to give some feedback as audience. We get a chance to meet the writer, which is really cool. Like, it's neat that that's part of it. And then they take it back and develop it, and then it goes other places, gets developed other places. Some of them come back here. So the first show was called Boulevard of Bold Dreams. The author is Ladarian Williams. He is from LA, and the show is set in LA in the 1940s in a bar, and it is sort of a fictionalized retelling of the night that Hattie McDaniel won her Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her role in Gone with the Wind. And it is like the day leading up to that night, and it addresses some of the issues that surrounded the real actual life issues that surrounded her in that Academy Awards. Things like they didn't want her to be in the room, even though she got brought in when she won the award, and like she was kept apart. She wasn't allowed to go to premieres for the films, things like that. And the sort of anger that the Black community had over the type of character she was portraying, and sort of the mixture of that tension. And the fictionalized setting surrounds these 2 other characters, Arthur and Dottie, who both work at the hotel. And Arthur is a bartender who has his own dreams of being a writer and director and is creating this show. And Dottie is a maid who also sings and who is Arthur's best friend, and they want to be in pictures together. And so it is a little bit of a legacy story, with Hattie sort of talking to a younger generation, a little bit about racial tensions, and a lot about what it takes to make dreams come true, and what it means to strive for dreams, and what it means to be the first to do something, to push open that door, and to be a beacon, set an example, be a driving force, and not just the positives, but also the pressures of that sort of thing. And the story has some conflicts for Hattie as she tries to decide if she even wants to go to the Academy Award. It's got some conflicts for Dottie with how she's treated by the patrons in the hotel, and also a little bit about her past, and with Arthur with what his dreams are and what he wants to do versus the reality of some things in his personal life. And I thought that the play is beautifully done as far as character arcs go. I think everyone is already very well-rounded, and it's fun to watch them develop. I wish I knew a little bit more about Arthur's relationship with the woman who is the mother of his eventual child, only because they have a couple of phone calls which seem like she doesn't really trust him, and it makes the relationship seem strained in a way that I don't necessarily feel that it is, because he is excited to have this kid, and at the end he's like excited to go home to the kid. And I wish I knew a little bit about how they became a couple, and like a little bit more about that would be the one thing that I would want developed just a hair, just so that we're a little invested in him wanting to be a father. But the rest of it is so well done. There's music in it that was, the melodies were created by the director, and she did a fabulous job doing that. And the performers were great singers. Jade Jones, who I adore so much, was in this show as Hattie and gave an exquisite performance. All of the actors were very, very good. And I thought that it was a really fun piece, and it was very enjoyable to experience it and then hear about it in the talkback. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I came. I'm super excited to come to the next new PlayFest show tomorrow, and I will put links down there to the websites for the authors so that you can check them out, even though you can't like get tickets to see this show because it's just a one-night thing only for PlayFest. I'm so excited that this is something that Shakes is doing because I think it's fun, it's interesting, it's really cool to have this opportunity for development, both for the writers and for us as audience, to get to experience different stages of production like this. And I will see you back on this video when I come to tomorrow's. I am back for PlayFest night 2, the only other night I'll be here sadly, but I'm super excited. This evening show is White People by the Lake by Rachel Lynette, who wrote Apologies to Lorraine Hansberry, U2 August Wilson, which I saw last week, 2 weeks ago. What is time? And so I'm super excited to see another show by her because I enjoyed Apologies so much. And this is supposed to be a comedy, and I'm a sucker for a comedy. The second show of 2 that I'm sadly seeing at PlayFest, but you should go to the rest of them. Just because I can't doesn't mean you can't have fun. Is finished, and as I mentioned before, this is by the same author who wrote Apologies, which I really enjoyed, and there is no question that I like her style after this second show. She has a couple of other pieces that I'm definitely gonna have to check out. There was a comment on my Apologies video, and I did not look up the YouTuber's name before I started this, so we're a little too late for that, but I appreciated the comment. They had read Apologies but hadn't been able to see a production of it, so now you can be jealous again because I've seen the second only reading of this particular show. It is a satirical comedy and it goes hard. Like, it's like a rocket ship, lightning fast, absolutely absurd, hysterical. I laughed through the entire thing, and then it has a moment. I don't want to like compare this to Apologies because in the meat it is very different, but it does have a similar like step out beat at the end, in that the very final scene is very clearly not satirical and has a sort of different feel and a different tone, in a similar way to the end of Apologies, where everybody like steps outside themselves to finish that show. And also the stage directions were read, and they've got that like humorous bite that the narrator stuff in Apologies has, but they're just in stage directions. And I'm kind of in love with the idea that Rachel writes for the page too, so that you get some of that humor and some of that for the people who are performing and the people on stage, as well as the bits that go out into the audience. And I think that that's kind of fun. Even in a small casual reading environment, it was a very dynamic piece. It made really good use of raising and lowering the music stands and like moving in the very limited space they had, that made it one of the most interesting staged readings I've been to, just from a visual perspective. And then Roberta Emerson was in this piece. She played the lead character, Saida, and I don't often get to see Emerson act. Like, I watch her directorial stuff pretty often and relish that. She's fantastic. But what she can do with just her eyebrows, because her character doesn't have a lot of agency specifically in this show, and is often just like part of the action. So she is standing there and this world is revolving around her. So even though it's her story, she doesn't have a lot going on, and she certainly doesn't have a lot of lines. But what Roberta can do with her eyebrows and side eyes is top tier, and often honestly made me laugh just as much as some of the lines. And there's a lot of really funny bits in this that were really well pulled out by the director, and I think all of the important heartbeats are also hit, and that is a challenge in satire, and comedy doesn't get enough love. So go see more comedies, because they are just as hard as dramatic pieces. Pet peeve of mine, somebody in the audience at the end of the show was like, have you considered making this a dramatic piece? And I maybe wanted to punch them a little bit, because I find it frustrating that people think that a lot, that people look at a comedy piece and think, oh, but there seems to be heart here. Shouldn't it be a drama? No, comedies can have heart. Comedies can be about serious things. Just because it's funny doesn't mean that it doesn't have important pieces to it. It's not mutually exclusive. You can't be either funny or like heavy. You can be both. And this play balances that very, very well. And Rachel's writing style lends itself incredibly well to satire. And so I liked it start to finish. I'm a little sad I won't be able to come back to the rest of PlayFest, but I'm sure it's going to be great. Link down there to tickets from the Shakes so that you can go if I can't, and then you can tell me about it. And I'll see you tomorrow.